have such sights to show you. We'll tear your soul apart.
What's up, everybody? So about 2 weeks ago, Sumrak, the lead developer for Namalsk, released an update, and it includes a new area for the map called Lantia. So in this video, I'm going to go over a lot. It's probably going to be pretty long. I'll try to be as quick as I can. I do want to point out well in advance that there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen, what you can expect, spawn rates, everything, what it even looks like, just don't watch the video. So the first thing we're going to go over is what is Lantia, some of the lore. Well, I'm not going to go too in depth with this because it's very lengthy, but you can find most of the lore items scattered around the map, little letters. You can read them, read up on it yourself. But long story short, Lantia is an alien planet, and it's pretty much the origin of the virus that you find throughout all of the DayZ maps. So we're going to go over in this video what you need to get there, spawn locations for these things, the spawn rates of these items, the normal way you would normally get to Lantia, what you can find in Lantia. I'm going to show you how to stay there longer than normal, which is probably something you haven't seen in most videos. You'll understand that shortly later on in the video, but we're also going to take an in-depth tour, again, longer than you could normally stay there, and much more in-depth than I'm fairly certain any other video on YouTube is going to have taken it. So lastly, it's going to be my personal theories on what's probably going to come in the next update. And again, I do want to point out that there's most definitely going to be spoilers. So again, if you don't want to know spoilers, stop now, don't watch the video. So here real quick, we're going to show you just a quick glimpse of what can be expected a little bit later on in the video. This is going to be real quick, so boom, here you go. Alright, and let's go ahead and get into the video then. So in order to get to Lantia, you're going to need two pieces. First thing you're going to need is a key card. There we go, there's a key card here. And the second thing you're going to need is the locator. These are both found at different places on the map, which we'll touch on shortly. Here's a picture of the locator. There's only one place on the whole map where you can find the card, and that's right here at the submarine. And looking from a topographical view, this is where you're going to be able to find the submarine on the map. It's all the way up in the northeastern corner of the polar ice caps. Quite a journey to get there. As far as the locator goes, there are three locations you can find it. First will be any of the spawn built locations in the main two buildings here at Research. Most likely it's going to be in a little underground bunker one, if you know what I'm referring to. And this is where you're going to find Research on the map itself. The second place you can find the locator is here at A2 at any of the spawn points in the underground portion of the bunker. And here is where you can find A2 on the map. Now remember, it's got to be the underground portion of it. And the last place you can find the locator is right here at BKL01, the military base, and you can only find it in the very large building in the middle of the base. And here on the map is where you can find BKL01, and you can see that large building right in the middle. That's where you're going to be able to find it if it spawns there. So the next thing we're going to look at is one of the game files, and this is actually a file that pretty much shows a lot of the items. There's two of these types of files in Namalsk actually, but this is one that shows different items that shows basically where they will spawn and how much they will spawn, how often they will spawn, that kind of thing. So if I look through this and I got it put in here already, but if I find something called module, I'll come up with a few things here. That's not what we're looking for right here. Okay, module card. This is actually the card that you can find out at the submarine base. There's a few things about this we need to look at. This nominal and this minimal. First off, the nominal is the maximum that's really the server's gonna try and call for. The minimal is how many there's gonna be on the map. So really at any given time, there's only going to be one card spawned on the map. And as you can only find it at the submarine, that's the only place you're gonna find it. Now the nice thing about it is these flags, counting it in map, that means it's counting it if it's on the ground of the map or in a spawn location. If it's counted in hoarder, if this was a number 1 right here, then that would mean that if a person had it in a stash somewhere, this would not respawn. But because this is turned off, it basically means that even if someone has it in a stash somewhere, it will still spawn on location at the sub. Same thing with the cargo. If the player is carrying the item, if this was a 1 here, it would not spawn. Or I'm sorry, in a player's gear, if they were carrying it in a backpack or something like that. This one is if they're carrying it on their person. Crafted item is irrelevant here, and then D-loot is something completely different. That's for basically if it's like a non-static event, like a helicopter spawning in on normal Chernobyl, it would require a 1 to have the item actually spawn there. So the next thing we're going to look at is these tiers. Now, for those that don't know, there's different tiers to the map. Usually the higher you go in the tier level, the rarer the loot's going to be. So tier 4 only encompasses a couple places on the map itself, one of which is the sub, another is the outpost, and I think there's 1 or 2 other smaller locations. But this flag right here, this lore flag, the only lore flag that is in a tier 2 location is the submarine. So this is the only place you're going to find the module or the card itself, is at the submarine. And as long as there's not one dropped on the map somewhere, it's going to spawn there eventually. And these things here are basically timers. It's going to last for 5,400 seconds before it despawns. So the way you can kind of force it to spawn, and I don't like actually doing this, but you can pretty much move items and then get far enough away from the submarine itself that it'll respawn the item. I recommend starting a fire in the sub and then basically burning items that you want to kind of just get out of the loot table, walking a few hundred yards away from the sub, coming back, new things should spawn in. And hopefully once you get lucky, if you do it a little bit, the card itself will eventually spawn in. So second one we look at here is the DayZ module Lantia. That's the actual locator. Again, 1 item, only ever going to be 1 on the map. So again, with these 2 items, if someone were to actually drop the item on the map, it's not going to spawn in until the one that was dropped despawns. So just something to keep in mind. The flags along with this one, again, map 1, so it's going to only spawn in if there's not one on the map already. It's not going to count in someone's hoarder, someone's stash. Not going to count in their cargo. Not going to count in the player. Not going to count crafted or if like a non-static event spawned in. It is a tier 3 item, which, as I showed you earlier, there's 3 locations that have a tier 3 location with the lore flag. Those are the only places you're going to be able to find it. It's a little bit harder with the locator because, again, there can only be 1 on the map at any given time, but in this case, there's 3 places it can actually be, so it could be at any one of those locations. So that's kind of the little bit of the just background, so you kind of get an idea of how you know things, where they're going to spawn in, how they're going to spawn in, things of that nature. All right, so the next question is, how do we normally get to Lantia? Well, first part you got to do is get to A3, which I'm not going to go into extreme detail about because it's been out for quite a while and there's probably plenty of tutorials on how to do it online, but basically, simply put, you got to jump in the orb at A1 when it has been stabilized after someone has pressed the button. That'll get you into A3. Now, once you're in A3, well, make sure you, first off, you bring either a head torch or night vision goggles, because you can't see nothing. But once you're in A3, you got to make your way to this control room here, and you go into your menu, and you'll see you have these items that you can enter in here. So now, yes, this is my own private server. I have modded the amount of items that can actually spawn in, so I have a ton of the necessary items just for testing purposes. So first thing we need is a card. So let's grab our card. That's going to go here. Second thing we need is our locator. That's going to go right there. Now, before I actually hit the button, I want to explain something here. There's something at Lantia that really messes with my recording software, and it does get rather choppy. So before I head there, just realize anytime that I'm actually in Lantia, it is going to be kind of a choppy video, but you'll get the general idea of what's going on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hit the button on this. You see that the generator will turn on and get some light to it. And now we got to make our way to the portal room. Alright, so now we're at the portal room, and I just want to point out before we actually go in that you only have 60 seconds baseline to explore there, and you can't go very far because you will basically die if you go past the research area that's in there. And again, you only have 60 seconds while you're in there until you get one of the items that we'll see in the research area that's in there. So right now we just got to wait for this to give me a portal. Once we have the portal, we can go in. And I do want to point out that I am using mods on a private server. Right now I am in God mode, so just bear that in mind, and you'll understand why shortly. Alright, so it's about to create the portal for me. There we go. Alright, so now we are in Lantia. Now, keep in mind, again, normally we only have 60 seconds. And there's one of the items we can get. There's one of the other ones. And sometimes there's a plate carrier. Hasn't spawned in right now. But now, normally we only get 60 seconds. Although we have to climb one of these ladders and jump back in the portal. Otherwise, we will die after 60 seconds. Now, keep in mind, I am in God mode again. But if I try and explore past this area in God mode, it is still going to kill me. See my health going down, but this is about as far as I'm going to be able to get. Out to here, and it's going to kill me real soon. And I'm dead. So that's how you get to Lantia normally. Normally, again, you would have to jump in the portal before the 60 seconds is up to keep from dying. So these are the items you're actually going to be able to find in Lantia. Let's take a look at this one first. This is an APAC surge module, and experimental module allows Athena systems to operate in a very specific flux resonance frequency, triggering the destructive EVR sequence. So basically what this thing can do is it'll trigger an EVR storm when you use it with the card. So next is the EMAC flow controller. This rather experimental module allows the Athena systems to operate for a longer period of time by modulating stabilization frequencies in all three Athena 3 stabilizers. This essentially, as I said earlier, you only have 60 seconds on a normal run into Lantia. This will extend it to, I believe, 2 minutes and 30 seconds before it'll ultimately kill you. And lastly, the kind of most desirable thing, at least in my opinion, is a black plate carrier. Looks very similar to the normal carrier, except it's black, but it is stronger. So this is probably also going to be the least common thing that will spawn in Lantia as well. Okay, so we remember previously when we were looking at some of these these files and talking about different tier locations. Well, Lantia is the only location on the map that has a designation of Tier 6. So, that being said, we can take a quick look at the map here, or the files, and find what Tier 6 items are going to show up. So here's Tier 6. There's the first module, the second module. But if we continue to look through some of these other Tier 6 items, there's your plate carrier vest. If we look here, we get a holster and pouches. Now, both of these have their nominals and their minimals at 0, and they also have a 0 restock, which means they should respawn anytime. However, their nominals and minimals are at 0, so they cannot currently spawn in the current build. However, which I'll show shortly, with using mod menu, there are actually ways to get them to spawn in. So just wanted to showcase that real quick, that there are new items, and my guess is they're going to be coming up in the second portion of the updates for Namalsk and Lantia. My guess is also you're probably going to be able to get to more parts of Lantia as well, but just for now, those two items are not currently available to spawn in the game. And just really quick here, we have the couple of the items that we just talked about that are actually not spawning in yet. Set this down for that. We have the pouches and the holster. Let's just set this way. The holster and pouches that go along with the plate carrier. Just take a quick look what they look like all combined together. Now again, none of this is actually in game except for the carrier so far, but eventually, I'm guessing prior to the next update, this is what it's going to end up looking like. So. Alright, and just really quick, I will go ahead and show what the gear looks like complete on my character. So get drop that. I'll take that off for good measure. And there we go. And don't mind my turtle backpack there. Let's do this. Turn on. And go to free cam. That'll probably look a lot better if I put it down there. So let's do that real quick. There's my... Oh no, it's gotta be... There it is. Okay. Put that there. Dude, it ain't that cold. Come on, man. There you go, see? Pretty nifty. Okay, so before we go any farther, I want to let y'all in on a little secret here, but when you go to Lantia, you're not actually going to a different instance, or you're not leaving the map at all. No, really all that's happened, Lantia is actually on the map, and if you know where to look, you can find it. So if like, they're not going to go to the trouble of creating a whole new map just to send you to an instance. So what it is if you look on, this is I Survive, but if you look in that bottom right corner here, that is Lantia. Alright, so if you know how to get to it, which I'll show you shortly, you can actually get to it without going to A3. It will require use of a mod menu, so you either have to have your own private server with admin tools, or have admin tools in a server. But in any case, you can get there. You'll still die if you're just using God mode by teleporting there using a teleport map, but there is a way you can get there and explore without dying, which I will show you here. Okay, so now that we know that Lantia is actually a location on the map, and actually, let's now we are using mods, but let's pull it up here. This right here is actually Lantia, and theoretically I could teleport there, but it pretty much would kill me if I do a direct teleport. I'm not quite sure why this works the way it does, but it'll kill me if I direct teleport. However, because I'm using a mod here, now this is a private server again, I would recommend if you want to run a server with mods, you can run your own private server, you can run a local server, regardless, you just have to know what you're doing. I do recommend checking out a guy called Scale Speeder Gaming if you're looking into doing that, like putting a mod menu on your server. I'm not going to go into details how to do that, but once you do have a mod menu up, you have this nifty little thing called Free Camera, which allows you to do this. See, there's my body right there. There's me. Now, what you can do here is, since we know it's the island, or the planet is actually a part of the map, we can actually get to it. But we have to know the best way to do it. So what I like to do is basically just work my way south. I want to follow the inner coastline. I'm looking for a very specific spot here. And did I pass it? Oh, no, it's up this way still. And there we go, right here. This little island with this boat. Alright, so now we position ourselves facing the boat like this. We can just work our way across the ocean. As long as we keep going straight. Takes a second. There it is. See that little thing right there? That's where we're going. That's Lantia. Alright, so just want to keep in mind, once I do land, it's going to be a little bit later here yet, but once I do land and start walking around, the only way to do so is to use free cam with the mod menu and to place my body there while God mode is active. You can't directly teleport to it because you will die. Also bear in mind, as I said before, Lantia really messes with my recording software, and so a lot of it might be kind of choppy, but I mean, you're going to get to see much more of it than you ever would have by just going there normally. Lastly, look, I'm just going to shut up and you can start enjoying the scenery, because I got quite a bit of video of it. So just enjoy the scenery, enjoy the music, and have fun.
speak out about their horrendous hunger and slavery.
obsolete, Mr. Wordsworth. Why? No man is obsolete. You have no function, Mr. Wordsworth. You're an anachronism, like a ghost from another time. I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth by burning pages. You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth, crawling insect, an ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning. I am a human being.
Alright guys, so we are coming to the end of the video. As far as predictions going forward for what we can potentially expect for the second update for Lantia, I think, as I already showed, we're probably going to see some new gear. Probably going to be the holster and some pouches for the plate carrier. Maybe, I didn't see anything in the files to back this up yet, but maybe some new gear that will allow exploration of Lantia a little bit more, so maybe you'll be able to get some more of the actual planet itself. But I think, and I know I'd really much like to see this, I think we might get, and some of you may not even know what this is, but we might get the bloodsuckers from the original Namalsk mod. Now, if you guys don't know what these are, I'll show you some pictures here real quick of what they were back then. You know, these things are basically tanks. Sometimes they could be invisible until the last second, or just completely invisible at all. They really would add a new element of terror, and I think it'd be interesting if maybe you could encounter them on Lantia, and potentially even release them into Namalsk itself. But, you know, we won't find out until there's a new update released, and I don't know when that's going to be. But for now, thanks for watching, and good luck out there, Survivor.